Hello everybody, welcome back to the table. Today we are taking a look at a great little budget knife from Ktactical. This knife retails for $12.95 on their website, so looking at a knife at the extreme budget end, what are we getting for that price? Let's find out. Now first off, in the interest of full disclosure, this knife was sent to me free of charge from Ktactical. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. Second off, since this knife was sent to me directly by the manufacturer, we could also make an assumption that this is going to be the best quality controlled example of this knife in existence. And understanding that, let's take a look at this Ktactical folder. So Ktactical calls this knife the EDC carbon fiber bearing folder. A very descriptive name and also a mouthful. But what we are getting here are full aluminum handles with some light texturing on them to help give it a better grip. Around the pivot of the knife, we can see that there are these decorative red rings, and they add a little bit of color and pop to an otherwise very subdued knife. Here around the back, we have a huge lanyard opening on the back of the handle, which could definitely accommodate 550 cord without any issue. Both sides of this handle also feature a smooth carbon fiber insert running down the length of the middle of the knife. And I know you're probably thinking right now that this cannot possibly be real carbon fiber on a $12 knife. So what I will say though is that at least there's a carbon fiber styled insert in the handle. To me, it certainly has that three-dimensional carbon fiber style look. So either way, whether it's real carbon fiber or not, it does look good. And more than for looks though, this smooth carbon fiber actually functions because the surface is nice and smooth. And so it's very conveniently located right where the pocket clip sits against the handle. And this is going to ensure that your knife is going to enter and exit your pocket smoothly, and it's not going to give you any pocket killing snags. Now, as for the pocket clip itself, as you can see, it is the standard loop over style deep carry clip that appears on quite a few budget knives out there. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's really a tried and true design. It's painted black and it has the Ktactical logo on it. So with the blacked out clip and the handle, the knife here is going to draw really little attention to your pocket. The clip is reversible for left or right hand sided carry, and both being tip up position. It does use a T6 Torx driver to switch sides, and on inexpensive knives like this, I actually like to test it out by reversing it. And that's primarily for two reasons. So number one, I want to see if the reversible pocket clip is actually tapped for the screws on the reverse side. Sometimes the left-hand side, they'll drill the holes, but they never actually tap them for the screws. And I guess that's just something that they miss in manufacturing. I've seen it on more than one knife in the past. And no one really notices these issues until a lefty tries to reverse it and finds out that they can't. So that's the first reason. Second reason, if you're switching out the clip, you want to see if the screws are going to strip out or not while you're doing it. So I would recommend using high quality bits like these Weehaw Torx bits. But if the strips screw out while you're trying to do something as simple as switch the pocket clip over, you know that you're never going to be able to disassemble this knife should you have to do so in the future. But either way, this Ktactical folder, it passed both of these tests, so lefties can rejoice. You can switch the clip over, no problem. Screws came out totally fine, no problem. They did have some Loctite in there, but that was able to be overcome with a little bit of pressure. So, looking at the blade of this knife, we have a blade length of slightly less than 3.5 inches, and which is going to add up to an overall knife length of about 7 3/4 inches. The blade here, it has this gray titanium colored coating, and we see this coating on many knives in this price range, so you can see some Kershaw budget folders for reference. The blade steel on this knife is going to be a 3CR13 steel, which is the Chinese equivalent of a 440A series steel. So I hope I didn't lose you there, so please keep watching because there are some other good things about this knife, so it's not all about the blade steel. The spine of this blade, it does have some nice jimping, and the back of the handle as well does have jimping, which help increase your grip. So it's a great combination there. It's a sharp and useful jimping. It's not just there for show, so it's very, very functional. The blade is also half serrated, as you can tell, and it has a pretty unique blade shape. And so I'm maybe going to be calling this a modified reverse tanto. I guess so. Either way, I think the shape of the blade is good looking. And there are two different ways, of course, we can deploy this blade. And we have dual thumb studs, which of course, again, makes it very lefty friendly. But we also have a flipper tab in the back. The blade of this knife also runs on bearings, so that makes the opening action really smooth and easy to actuate. The liner lock has good lockup, there's no wiggle, although as I have been compulsively flicking this knife open and shut over the past couple of days, the pivot has started to loosen, which is a common thing that happens with a lot of use. So what I've done is I just gently snug the pivot back down with a T8 Torx bit, and it tightens the action right up again. So this knife is really fun to open and close with that bearing action, so much so you kind of need to be careful closing it. As my thumb found out the hard way, it got a little poke from the serrations because it closed a bit too quickly on my hand. It does happen. So take a look at the centering of the knife. So since this knife uses bearings, the centering is essentially perfect. So that's great to see. We can see the knife has an open flow-through design with a pillar construction, and it has black coated steel liners underneath these aluminum scales. And so with the steel liners and the aluminum construction, the knife is slightly heavier than average in my opinion, and it's coming in at around 4.1 ounces or 116 grams. I was actually somewhat surprised when I did weigh it, as it didn't really feel that heavy in my hand carrying it around. But either way, that weight isn't really a bad thing at all. I usually don't consider pocket knives truly too heavy until they come in, above 5, 6, 7 ounces or so. But before I give you any of my closing thoughts on this knife here, let's make a few quick comparisons to some other popular folders that I have on the table. So first off, let's compare it to my Kershaw Blur. Let's set them side by side, pivot to pivot, and you can get an idea of the size difference between the two knives. We can also make a comparison to the Benchmade Mini Griptilian right here. So let's check out these two together now. And completely out of left field, let's make a silly comparison as well. So here's the big dog. This is the Cold Steel Spartan. And so these bad boys recently went on sale at Amazon for about 40 bucks. And so I couldn't resist finally picking one up. These knives have been on the market and in constant production for well over 10 years now. So people genuinely love these things. So let's check these out. Okay, so putting aside all the comparisons, let's talk. For $12.95, I think you're going to struggle really to do better on build quality and materials than this Ktactical folder here. The only two downsides, again, are going to be the blade steel and the weight. But our room to complain about those things gets smaller and smaller and smaller when the price of this knife is already so low. So as competition for knives like these are, Walmart Ozark Trail knives, M-Tech knives, I would take this Ktactical any day of the week over those options. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I love sharing new knives with you all. That's one of my favorite things to do. So feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So have a great one, everyone. Bye-bye.